Hey, Halogen here. I'm going to talk about this album, which is called Secrets in Motion for the Ghostwriter. I'm going to talk about some trivia about this album. I haven't really spoken about it before yet, but I'm going to talk about where I got the ideas from for the songs, for the lore, and maybe the theme of the album. Now, this song is called Mint Floors and Lavender Doors, and I'm going to talk about why I called it that, first of all. I was watching a Twitch streamer. I've been watching this streamer for months at this point already, a couple, maybe several weeks, quite new in, and I noticed that her Twitch starting and ending scenes consisted of unsettling music, which was great sounding music, with what looked like a scene of a camera slowly moving through the halls of an abandoned mansion or big hall. And I liked the look of that, so I wrote that down to use as the main focus of the album with the song titles and everything else. The Twitch streamer is called Mint Lavender, or Mint Lavender W, and that's where I got the idea for the song title. So the song itself, I was watching her play an open world survival game in a Discord voice call, and I was chatting to her for a while, and I could hear this guitar music playing, and I thought I really like that. So while she was playing, I got open Mixcraft and got out the guitar, and I started making droney music using this, which is a sustainer. It's a Joyo sustainer, this one. Works well. And what came out is what you can hear right now. That's the music that came out of it. So I named the song Mint Floors and Lavender Doors as a reference to her username, Mint Lavender. That's where that came from. Track 2. So I'm going to do them in different orders. A Glance Upon Maria's Room. It's called that because of a video game called Demonologist. Now the title is a subtle reference to a controversial incident that happened in the early days of this game called Demonologist, where the developers came out with this puzzle that players and content creators had to solve. And one of them was finding out how to access this room called Maria's Room, which was in the basement of one of the maps. And you can look in. It's like you can look into the door, you can look through the window, you can see the room, but you can't get in. And over the coming week or two or weeks, the developers, Clock Wizard, or at least not the developers themselves, I think it was them, I actually think it was the fault of the community manager, I believe, or managers, came out saying in the Discord, they were the first ones to say it, coming out with hints and things that you're supposed to solve. But it turned out they didn't even exist in the first place, and there was absolutely... In fact, that door wasn't even programmed at all to open. It didn't exist. It was all a big ruse. I didn't bother trying any in the first place because I was just interested in the main gameplay, because I like ghost hunting sort of stuff. But I do know some streamers who did try, and they were not happy. So, as a subtle hint, I called it A Glance Upon Maria's Room, because that's all I could do, was just glance into the room. I couldn't get in. And of course, that track is also the shortest on the album as well, and also the most unsettling. It was also the song that was used in the trailer to the album, which I find really interesting. It really fitted it. So well done, Dan from Vivarium, for putting that together, that trailer. Very good. So, what am I going to talk about next? Let's talk about the opening track, The Ghostwriter, which is also the title of the album as well, Secrets in Motion for the Ghostwriter. The reason I called it that is because at the time I was recording it, I had these hats playing. It was like it was just regular hats. And then I put this effect on top of it called Bizarre Echo, and all of a sudden it sounded like a typewriter. And in my mind, because I was trying to come up with it, because I'm not good at writing stories and lore about stuff like that, immediately in my head I just imagined myself walking through this abandoned mansion, and you could just see a typewriter typing itself, like a ghost using it. So I just thought, The Ghostwriter. And I ended up using that as the album title. I think originally the album was going to be called something else, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was going to... if I was to sit here and try to think now, you'd be here for hours. But anyway, that's why it's called the Ghostwriter, because it sounded like a typewriter being used. Which I'll play it now. Can you hear it? That's what I mean. It sounds like a typewriter. So anyway, yeah. And the rest of the tracks are basically just ideas. I just imagined myself in this sort of fictional situation where I couldn't get out. You know, the wood panels sing. It was just off-the-cuff stuff. Crack the Flags, track 5, is British slang for when the sun comes out, a bright and hot sunny day. That's all that means. It's cracking the flags outside. We come up with some strange stuff, we do. As the Sun Rises. Track 10, My Life at a Digital Screen, was me coming to the realisation that me recording this album, I ended up staring at this screen, which I'm looking at right now, funny enough, to speak to you. And by the time I come to the end of the recording session of the album, I had suffered several, like sore eyes, a couple of headaches, and it was all because I wasn't resting my eyes, and I just thought, is this my life? Using these and this monitor and all these computers just to try and earn a living and stuff like that. Even though this is, so I just thought, I'll call it that. Didn't suit the album, but I just put it in. But yeah, that is more or less most of the inspiration. Also video game music as well. The video game side of it is partly due to the survival game that I watched Mint Lavender play, and also thinking about the time... I was thinking also at the time about Matt Bellamy from Muse using the Top Gear theme, not the television program but the original video game, as inspiration for the song Bliss, and I thought I could do something like that. I ended up not doing that in the end, but I just I can't remember what part, it's been about a couple of years, what part of the album is supposed to be video game related other than the track called Mint Floors and Lavender Doors. But yeah, so anyway, a bit of I got a bit confused towards the end there, but I hope this was interesting enough for you to think about. And very soon, on the 17th, I believe, if I remember the date, I return with my original ISGES with a new full length called The Courage of Fools Volume 2, so keep an eye out for that. So thanks for watching.